We got to talk about the Falcons, guys, and some of our expectations. Tomorrow, as we mentioned, Mike and I short show will be done at 5:30 for the pregame show, but we'll break down a lot more as to what we expect. But generally speaking, Mike, there are some things this team is dealing with right now. One of them is injuries, okay? So the Hennessy injury, and we don't want to be crude, okay? Right. But Mike and I have been saying this probably since camp started. You drafted Matthew Bergeron. He more than likely was going to be the starter. They were going to make him work for it. But unfortunately now, Mike, you know, you got thrust into this because of an injury situation.
Yeah, we said it. Same thing you just said. Yes, don't want to be disrespectful because Hennessy is a good dude, and he has been a starter on this team. But it's just, you know, we just expected bigger and better things. It's a good draft pick. I think everybody on draft day 2, said it's a good pick. You know what this guy's all about. He's got some swagger. Bergeron's a bigger dude. He's a tackle, but he's better suited as a guard. And it's an upgrade. And after all the things we've gone through the last few seasons with, you know, let's be honest, the revolving door and guys just getting a free run at the quarterback, you know, I didn't want to see Hennessy, you know, lose the job and get hurt. I'd like to see him as a swing backup because he's obviously viable. So now maybe Carl would go shopping when some of the guys get cut around the league.
Yeah, I was going to say my concern now is not guard. It is backup center. Ryan Nuzell, I think, is the guy right now that could.
Started Friday. He played the whole game down there against Miami.
Okay, so if they like what he brings, okay, that may be the answer. But my concern would be if Drew, knock wood, something happened to Drew Dahlman, right, where are we going? That we cannot take that lightly, guys. We know how weak we were years ago before, you know, Mac got here and shored up things, Mike, and then ultimately we become a great offensive line. I'm not taking that lightly. Like, that is the guy that's got to get the ball through Ritter. I don't care if he's under center or not. I have to have that guy, and I have to have his backup ready to go. And so that is my concern. The guard situation, I think Bergeron will grow into the job, Mike. Caleb McGarry, we paid him. Matthews, you know who he is. Mm-hmm. We know, Lindstrom. That is now my concern, and I don't know if he plays the entire game tomorrow.
We'll see the starters. I think we'll probably see the starters for the first half, and I think they'll shut it down. And I think that kind of makes sense. I think we're trying to read between the lines with what Arthur's been saying to the media and some of the players. But, yeah, man, Dahlman was – and by the way, Dahlman grades out really well. One of the top centers in the league. It's just the dude to the left was just a giant question mark all season.
All right, let's hear from Arthur Smith. He went on the Pat McAfee show, was talking about our offense. Listen, everybody around the league is perked up a little bit because they're curious about what this is going to be. This is what Arthur Smith said about the Falcons' offensive potential.
We have a lot of different offensive weapons. You know, the mentality, really, the entire team. I mean, Tyler and Bijan and CP, those guys are great players, and all three of them have their own running styles. But, Bijan and CP are great all-around football players. And we've got a lot of, especially a lot of young skill guys with unique skill sets with Kyle and Drake and Jonnu, Matt Collins. I mean, we've got a diverse group of offensive weapons. And so we can attack in a lot of different ways. It's not just traditional rushing attack. I mean, Dez is another guy that can extend plays with his legs. I think when you watch us, we've got a lot of guys that are going to be fun to watch, and the way we'll deploy them is going to be unique compared to everybody else. I never wanted to be boring. I mean, that's the thing. We need to win games, but we've also got a lot of fun guys to watch play. And the offensive line as well. Those guys play with a certain mentality.
Yeah, the physicality, that was something that came up with his comments talking to the Atlanta media yesterday. The physical nature, the size, things you and I pointed out back in May, that's part of our identity. But let's be honest, they're not going to show you. We saw a couple of plays that kind of you and me raising our eyebrows at practice, but they're not going to show that in the Bengals game. They're going to save that for the regular season.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, people were tripping out, about Bijan not playing in that first preseason game. I wasn't, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays limited action in this second game. We know. I was going to say you. You will see. We know what we've seen and what he can do. And I think you want to save that explosive nature of what this offense can be and how you're going to put him in different sets. Why am I going to give potential opponents, Carolina, an idea of where I'm lining up Bijan and what I'm doing? Everything they'll do tomorrow, guys, just so you guys know, it's going to be basic. I'm not going all out and showing you everything. Now, maybe there's a series of plays or a set or two that Arthur Smith wants to see how it looks and what we're going to do. But, Mike, I cannot do that knowing this is on film, and everybody's going to access it, and they want to see what we're doing. Bijan, I'm not lining him up in 9 different places and saying, look what we're doing.
That's why I was joking around with Chris and the guys yesterday. I was like, man, the Dolphins ran a reverse in the second half. Like, really? I mean, you're getting trucked by the Falcons, so they ran a reverse. So that was, if that guy explained it.
It was a terrible call, by the way.
Don't do that in the preseason. But yeah, man, I want to see, just see the run game. Let's just knock them over. Let's, dictate our tempo because the Bengals are considered to be a better than average defense.
Yeah.
And then, some of the standard plays from the West Coast offense, the naked bootleg to the tight end, stuff you'll see. That's kind of stuff I want to see on Friday.
Clark Phillips, by the way, was talking about Ryan Nielsen. After this first preseason game and these 2 practices with the Dolphins, right, you feel pretty good about the defense. Now, we know no Joe Burrow tomorrow. We get that. But you still want to come out, Mike, and follow that up with a couple of good series, especially for the guys that are going to get to play on the first team. Here's Clark Phillips talking about Nielsen and how tough he is on guys.
I feel like he's got both sides. I've definitely seen that tough side, like you guys say he is, attacking aggressive, but I would say he's got both sides, but he's definitely a super, super tough coach.
Yeah, and by the way, Clark Phillips is fine, right? I'm looking around the room.
He's good.
All right.
Akuda, we still don't have the definitive word on when Akuda is going to be 100%, but it's not like he's on the IR or anything, so that he'll be okay.
I think so too, Mike. I think we might even see him week 1, potentially.
Be good.
It'd be really good. Last but not least, Matthew Bergeron. We have high expectations for him. How much better can the run game be with Bergeron at starting guard? Here's what he said about just being excited to get the opportunity.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to get the jitters, the nervousness of the first NFL snap, out the way. So I'm excited to compete and go in there and, obviously from where I'm from, I'm just grateful to be able to be in a stadium, NFL stadium and play at this level. So I'm grateful for it.
Now, Mike, didn't the morning shift, that one day we were out there, didn't they interview him? And the kid was a lot of fun, right?
Right.
If I remember correctly. He's from Canada, and they're talking about all this different stuff with him.
Yeah, and you and I talked to him just a little, maybe 2 or 3, seconds here and there coming off the practice field. But he's got attitude, he's got swagger, and again, the size. I think that's the thing we keep hitting on. When you see us, we are bigger, we've got depth. Although, again, don't want to see everybody get chipped away as far as our offensive line depth. But you're right. Bergeron was the guy we always wanted to see get this job. Just hate to see it at the expense of an injury to Hennessy.
All right. So that's going to shore itself up between now and that third preseason game. What about Cordero Patterson? What is going on with him?
A little banged up.
What did we know this?
So they're just saying it's been specific because remember, guys, with the Matt Hennessy thing, we saw him leave the field like the second or third day of practice, and they never said anything. And that's their prerogative. I understand, from Belichick on, coaches kind of do that bunker mentality. Arthur's no different. He doesn't owe us to tell us, but I don't know what exactly is up with Okudah. And I don't right now can tell you what's exactly up with Cordero Patterson.
All right. And again, they're not saying, when he will return, but he's going to miss, obviously, tomorrow and probably, I don't think he was going to play in the third preseason game anyway, but he'll miss some time there, Mike. Once we get past tomorrow, and we still have a lot to discuss, guys, because, there are guys who are still fighting for jobs. But then it becomes, hey, making sure everybody's healthy, you're getting the reps in you need. And then, Mike, my focus is turning to September 10th. It just is.
Yeah, and I said this in the Blitz yesterday. The Fricky, the Carolina Panthers.
What'd you say?
No, the Panthers, by the way, they got trucked by the Jets. The Jets' defensive front is pretty impressive if you watch Hard Knocks. But it looks like maybe not so smooth sailing for Bryce Young in that first year if they can't protect him, young man, because he's not the mobile guy that some people think he is. He wants to be in the pocket throwing.
Can I tell you guys right now what I'm doing? Hi, Ryan Nielsen. I'm bringing everybody. Let Bryce Young beat me with one-on-one coverage. And I'm not saying we do it every down. But early in the game, Mike, I'm making him uncomfortable. Week 1. Why not? Has Bryce Young shown you he can make these NFL throws against NFL corners? I mean, seriously. A lot of times when you play at Alabama, Ohio State, Mike, we talk about this. Even Georgia. Your guys on the outside are so much better that if I just throw it up, my guy's going to make a play, okay? Not in the NFL. So if I'm coming after Bryce Young, and this is just me watching to your point about Hard Knocks, Jets were destroying these guys with 4 down linemen. I don't know if we just want to do that, but, Mike, I got to make him uncomfortable early.
Right. And there was even talk yesterday. One of the things that came out from Arthur's comments with the media was, because we have so much depth in the D-line, you might even have Grady manageable pitch counts. So Grady's not worn out by the end of the season as opposed to having to carry the defenses on his back the last 2 years.
It's a good point.
Interesting stuff, man. That's what happens when you got the money to spend on better dudes.
Yeah, we've spent a lot, but I think it's going to pay off. Yeah, I was impressed. You're right about the Jets D-line, and very few teams around the league are going to have that, but I think we are improved, and I'm just saying, like, if Bryce was frustrated in that situation, why not make him frustrated week 1, Mike? Get him off of his game and maybe have him throw into a couple of mistakes. That's what I'm hoping.